Make sure you subscribe to Base Boxing Basement and like. Also, don't be a cheap piece of chit and donate. See the description below. The Triple B is the only boxing channel I watch, and he knows more about boxing than I know about PEDs. Wow. That dude is for real. World class. Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah, what up? What up? Thanks, Joe. Thanks for that. Yeah. Thanks, Joe. Joe can be red-pilled, although some people say he's controlled opposition. Anyway, we here to talk about boxing because we are a boxing channel. All right? So David Benavidez vs. David Morrell. Yeah, that's the big fight of the weekend, and it's a great fight. It's gone somewhat under the radar, I think. But, it's one of those fights where, you could pick either fighter. They're both good fighters. They're both world-class fighters. They don't like each other. There's been a lot of beef, fake or not. Fake or not, who knows? But I like this fight. It's good. The first thing you notice, though, right? That's weird about it. It's on Amazon Prime, right? And I mean in the UK. I'm based in the UK. You might have guessed that. Okay? It's on Amazon Prime. Pay-per-view, though. Not normal, pay-per-view, £19.99, mate. I mean, what? What? I don't know what, in America, most half-decent fights go pay-per-view, okay? So, especially American fights. These aren't actually Americans. Well, Benavidez is American, but not of origin. Morrell is from Cuba, okay? But really? Amazon want us to pay $19.99 for this? Blood clot. And it'll be on like at 5 in the morning as well. UK time. That's a bit of a surprise to me. I won't be paying for it. I won't be staying up for it. The only fights I'd stay up for now, when I was a youth, you'd get like one big fight one big US fight on TV every month or something like that. And I'd stay up for it, you know what I mean? I was young. There was not much boxing on TV. There wasn't YouTube. But now it's like, come on, man. I ain't staying up 5:30 in the morning. Unless it's like a massive heavyweight fight, or or even just it would have to be a super fight. A genuine super fight. I'm not talking about Lauren Price. He's Natasha Jonas style of so-called super fight, according to Ben Shalom. Right. So that was a bit of a surprise to me, but hey, whatever. I'll try and, I'll try and find it the next day online. The problem is when you just search for stuff online, right? Dailymotion or YouTube or whatever. Dailymotion's quite a good one. You can often find the result, unfortunately, before you see the fight, That's happened before. Like I looked at an Naoya Inoue fight vs the Korean guy. And I was searching for it, and I searched stupidly under Google videos, and I saw the result, and I was like, blood clot. So, having said that, it's kind of predictable fight, but whatever. So let's look at the fights, or let's look at the fighters, I should say. So, David Benavidez, right? He's touted as one as a pound for pounds or close to it. I don't really necessarily agree with that. As an amateur, right? He was allegedly 15-0, so unbeaten in 15 fights. I find I'm a bit suspicious about that. Unbeaten amateur records are extremely rare, right? Because they fight a lot and they're only doing 3 rounds and they're learning, they're learning their business. All the great fighters have got an amateur loss, I'm pretty sure. If they have, a few fights, Mayweather, Gayweather, people like that. Anyway, there we go. So if we look at his professional career, he has an unbeaten record of 29 wins with 24 KOs. So you should think that's a puncher. That's a 82% KO ratio. Okay, at the moment he's a WBC interim world light heavyweight title. Interim titles are just the biggest fraud in boxing, so I don't really pay much attention to that. You know what I'm saying? Benavidez has also moved up from super middleweight when he won the title against Anthony Durrell, the WBC super middleweight title. He had a few defenses, which, he beat Caleb Plant on unanimous decision. He KO'd a completely shot David Lemieux. He was the first guy to beat Demetrius Andrade. A stoppage as well. And he won a unanimous decision against Alexander Gvozdyk. Now, that's for the World Light Heavyweight title. So that was when he moved up to win the World Light Heavyweight title, was against Alexander Gvozdyk. Now, I mean, that's, I say world, the interim title, which means nothing, right? His real name, by the way, is Anthony. No, really, his name is Anthony David Benavidez. And his nickname is the Monster, Bandera Roja, which means the red something. Yeah, looking at it, Bandera means like a flag, so he's a red flag. I guess that means he's a danger, I suppose. It's the original nickname, I guess. Now, Benavidez, he is of origin. Well, he's brought up in the U.S., United States. I think he was born in Phoenix. And he is, well, of origin. He has a Mexican father, but his mother is from Ecuador. And like I've said many times, the American TV's promoters love their Mexican fighters, especially at heavier weights. Why? Because the Hispanic, especially the Mexican market, is huge in the United States, and they will pay for their pay-per-views. They'll probably get all their pals rounds and homeboys and cousins and sit around babbling, and the ones that can speak Spanish. Because quite a lot of these American Mexicans, the younger generation don't seem to pick up the Spanish, which is a shame. But, Ryan Garcia, I don't think speaks Spanish. Andy Ruiz, I'm not sure. So, they want Benavidez to do well. They're always looking for that new Mexican superstar, especially in the big weights. He's 28 now, Benavidez. And he's most well known for being fat, strangely enough. I'll go into that later, because apparently when he was 15, he weighed 250 pounds, he had struggled with eating. Obviously, he had an eating problem, but I mean, that's pretty, 250 pounds. 250 pounds, age 15. I mean, that's giant. 250 pounds is more than Gay J weighs. You know what I'm saying? He's quite tall, 6'2", but still, that doesn't warrant, that kind of weight. And he wouldn't have been a 6'2" at 15. So, he obviously struggles with food. And I'll get into that a bit more later, because let's just look at his record. Well, as I said, most recently he won the interim light heavyweight against Gvozdyk. He won the WBC super middleweight title. It was an interim one as well, which is kind of disappointing. He won. It was weird. I'm looking for his record, and he won the WBC World Super Middleweight title against Dirrell. He defended it once against a guy called Angulo. Then, I don't know what happened when he got stripped or something. I can't remember, because then he refights for the WBC interim World Super Middle against David Lemieux, who was world class, but not by then. He was shot. He defended against Caleb Plant, a world class fighter, beat him on points. I mean, Caleb Plant gave a good account of himself, but he got beat on points. So he's fought at world class for a bit. I would say J. Leon Love, was meant to be a prospect. He beat him. Ronald Gavril, prospect, beat him. He's got some decent wins, right? And he's been a world-class fighter since, I don't know, I'd say 2017. And as I said, they're trying to build him into a superstar, especially because he's Mexican or half Mexican, to get that Hispanic market, that money, that pay-per-view money of the Latino population. Now, he's got a weird style. His body does not look always good. He sometimes looks a bit soft. You know what I mean? Even when he's, in the ring fighting, his body's always got a softish look. It's not like super muscular, and it changes a bit. Like, there's been a couple of fights he's coming in looking a bit chubbier than others. He obviously eats too much and drinks too much, right? And he's kind of fast, but not super fast, you know. They try and push him. Oh, he's got fast hands, you know. But look, you can see him on the bag here.
Let's go.
I mean, that's all very well. I know it's just hitting the bag and stuff. And although it doesn't look like he's got a lot of power, at least not there. But like I said, he's got a decent, you know, he's got a decent KO ratio. What has he got? Like, let's have a look here. 29 fights, 24 KOs. What's that? 82% KO ratio. And that would imply he's a puncher. But you know, he couldn't knock out Caleb Plant. He couldn't knock out Gvozdyk, you know, quality fighters. He did stop Andrade, but Andrade was moving up from, I think he was moving up from a light middle or something at the time. KO'd a completely shot David Lemieux. So it's difficult to gauge his power. It's difficult to gauge his power. He has scored some KOs against world-class opponents, but he went the distance, including a split decision against Ronald Gavril, and then he thought he had the rematch, and he won unanimously. So, you know, I don't think he punches as hard as his record says. It's one of those. It's one of those. Let's just have a quick look at some of his action. Yeah, as you can see here, so he's unloading against some guy here in the corner, right? And you know he's got pretty fast hands, but you can see there's not that much power in the shots. You know, he's got this guy where he wants him, and he's throwing the shots again, and they're fast. But you know, I'm not going to go as far as call them feather-fisted punches, but you know. He's not rocking the guy. I mean, this is only one fight, but I see that more as being his style. He throws a lot of punches, and there's some power, but he's not. He's not really a banger, despite his big KO percentage. And I've just never been hugely impressed by him. I've always thought that he doesn't disturb the status that the boxing world gives him. You know. You know, it's kind of like I said, they're just looking for that superstar. And that's one of the reasons they push Benavidez, because they want that superstar, from that Hispanic superstar at light heavyweight, at the larger weights, because it brings cash money. Oh, by the way, you know, he turned pro at 16. So, which is impressive. Canelo turned pro at 15. I mean, but that was in Mexico. And they don't care, man. They probably let you turn pro at 11. But Benavidez made his pro debut in the actually, it wasn't in the US. It wasn't actually in the US. It's in Mexico. He actually turned pro in Mexico at 16. So probably he's too young to turn pro in the US. So they decided to go down to Mexico. You know, and as for his 15-0 amateur record, I mean, BoxRec doesn't have any fights for him. But again, that's not, you know, you can't trust. BoxRec amateur records are never complete, and they were junior fights, obviously. So, you know, they're less likely to have been noted. So, because you got to prove it, right? It's easy to prove a pro fight because they're all linked, but to go on BoxRec amateur, there has to be proof of the fights. And if you're fighting 13, you know, there may not be any mention of these fights in any boxing paper or in any newspaper or anything like that. You've got to be able to, you know, you can't just say, oh yeah, I beat this guy, and they update your record, because that would just be stupid. Otherwise, you know, I might update my record. I've got 100 fights and 100 KOs in the amateurs. But yeah, so whilst I think he's obviously world class, I just don't rate him as highly as the US boxing media do. Now, Benavidez is fighting another David. So it's like David vs. David. It's not David vs. Goliath, it's David vs. David. And that is David Morrell Jr. Now, my first thought was, hang on, mate. That's not that's not a very Cuban name. Yeah, that's not a very Latino name, is it? But that's not his full name. like his real name. It's like, now Tyson's name, they say is actually Luke Tyson Fury. Some people say it's Luke Tyson Partridge. Some people just say it's actually just Luke Partridge. I actually can do a video on that. I mean, I don't care. Like I said, fighters are allowed to change their names. All right. So what, man? They've done it throughout history. Look at Muhammad Ali. What should I call him? Cassius Clay now? Is it wrong he changed his name? No, of course not. Jersey Joe Walker was called Arnold Raymond Cream, Ray Robinson Walker Smith Jr., and so it goes on. So, I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, you're called what you're called. There's plenty of people like to have different nicknames or would change their name. So his real name, David Morrell Jr., is actually Osvaldo David Morrell Gutierrez Jr. from Santa Clara, Cuba. Okay, so but he fights as David Morrell. He was a super amateur. Most of these Cubans are, and they defect. He had a record allegedly of 100 wins and 5 losses, which is just exceptional, especially at world level. I mean, don't underrate this dude, right? He's won a couple of open international championships. He won a youth world championship, Cuban national championships. There's no world or Olympic titles there, though, but so what? His last 4 amateur fights were in New Delhi, in India, oddly. Some kind of event, some international event. There's a lot of good fighters, actually, that fought in this event. Israel Madrimov was on it, Bakodir Jalolov, right? So they obviously had some good fighters there. He beat up 3 Indian guys. Well, he beat them on points. So, and I think he won whatever this championship was. Apart from that, he fought a lot in Cuba, obviously. Anytime. Look, listen. If you're a top Cuban man, you got to be good. You just got to be good. He actually, Julio Cesar de la Cruz, the amateur. He's now boxing as a pro heavyweight. I think he was a gold medalist, maybe a double gold medalist. Actually, he lost in Paris. He lost in Paris in the preliminaries. De la Cruz. So I'm sorry about that. But whatever. De la Cruz is one of the top guys. So he beat Morrell on points. Anyway, you go through his record. There's just so many names, man. So many names. Not one. No. He lost to Willie Hutchinson. That is interesting. I wonder if that was as a junior. Yeah, he lost to Willie Hutchinson on points, a split decision. That is interesting. I don't like to read too much into people's amateur careers because, when a pro game's a different game, believe that. There's plenty of super pros, super amateurs who've turned pro and then failed. In Britain, Errol Christie is a classic choice of that. George Collins is another great example, although he got ironed out by Gary Stretch in his last amateur fight. He was being touted so much, George Collins, as was Errol Christie, and they both kind of failed at way behind world level. Errol kind of got knocked out a few times. George Collins got KO'd at British level. So, just because you're a real good amateur doesn't mean you're going to be a real good pro, but it obviously helps, put it that way. There's also loads of fighters that have never had an amateur fight or had a very ordinary amateur career and do really well as a pro because of their style more than anything else. As a pro, Morrell is 11 wins with 9 big wins by way of KO, right? Which is great KO ratio. That's actually almost identical, 82% KO ratio as Benavidez. Obviously, he's had far fewer fights. Has he fought anyone world class? Alantes Fox, well, he's not. I wouldn't say he's world class, but he was edging below it. He got stopped. Yamaguchi Falcao, maybe he had a good record. He's been a lot of guys with good records. His last fight was against Rarivoje Kalajic, who was considered decent enough, and he went the distance. Although he got he got absolutely schooled. He barely won a round, this Kalajic. So you know, who else has gone the distance with Morrell? In his third fight, he was fighting 12 rounders against Lennox Allen, who was unbeaten, and beat this guy on points, clearly having hardly lost a round. So we got a guy here who's, I mean, like I said, there are no exceptional names here, but he has fought guys with great records, you know. Let me look at this. Look at this. 1, 2, 3. So it's 3 unbeaten guys. And, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 guys who had like 1 or 2 losses and had like, you know, a great win percentage, like 28 wins, 15 wins. So we're talking about a guy who's fought guys with good records. And they've mainly been at super middleweight. His last fight against Kalijic, I don't know how to pronounce it, Kalijic. These kind of Balkan names are hard to pronounce, man. But yeah, I mean, that was his first light heavyweight outing. So that's similar to Benavidez. He's only recently moved up to light heavyweight. Yeah, so I got some footage of David Morrell hitting the bag because we put some of Benavidez up. I thought that'd be nice to compare. They're working at a different pace here, you know, and you can't really tell much from that, but you know, it's just interesting to see. But what you can see about Morrell is the way he likes to move around the target, and you can see when he wants to dig, he puts his shoulders back, bang, he hits hard. You know, he'll move his body in the right position so that when he unleashes the shot, it has power. It has power. I watched some Morrell fights, and I'll just show a quick clip in a minute. But you know, what I saw of him was he's very good at keeping his hands up, right? He'll keep his hands up high. His defense is good. And you know, but he will move in for the kill and hit you very hard. He seems like a guy who judges the distance well, and that is the you know, the mark of a really good pro. You know, J.L. Pattaya is very good at this as well. You know, a guy who will just take that half step back, 6 inches back when the guy throws a punch that he missed, and then boom, they move forward a foot or whatever and let go with the power shots. So I see David Morrell having that kind of style, and he's extremely dangerous in my opinion, and a very, very, very good boxer. I think he's underrated in this fight, very much so. Very, very underrated in my opinion. He's kind of flown below the radar because he's not on social media talking big and talking nonsense, and he probably only speaks Spanish. Yeah, and sorry I can't show more footage, but unfortunately I'm limited in what I can show because, you know, otherwise I'll get demonetized for this video, and I need that cash money, you know. A man needs that cash money. And when you're poor, man, a few quid means a lot of money, believe that. And remember, you can donate and show love. Look in the description, as Joe Rogan said. You can Bitcoin, Litecoin, and buy me a beer stroke coffee. Cash App is unfortunately done. There is a group, there is a class action against Cash App, and I'm part of it. I mean, obviously, I'm not part of the legal process, but anyone who's used Cash App is allowed to become part of the, you know, to come on part of the case and say, yeah, give me my cash money back. I'm not sure what I'm not sure the details. I don't care, man. I got some good money off Cash App, and if they're going to give me some more for legal process, and I'll take that. Yeah? I got my begging bowl out. Believe that, in the basement. Now, before I make my prediction, there is one thing we got to talk about, and that's David Benavidez, and that's his lifestyle. Now, I told you he was a fat pig when he was a youth, right? 13, he weighed 250 pounds. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And here are some pictures of the fat bugger. I mean, he's even fat, right? He's even fat when they're doing the sort of face-to-face, where, you know, to promote the fight. He's even fat then already. He looks totally out of shape. And he doesn't live the life. And that can be a problem, as you found out with people like Ricky Hatton. Okay? Okay? Look, here's a few clips of him, right? And it doesn't look great. For example, here is him quite clearly on the yayo. Now, people go, how do you know? Oh, Chet will be, he's not on there. Listen, blood, I've done so much. I've done a lot of the yayo. I've been around people that do on the yayo. If you know anything about yayo and you hang around people doing yayo, this is how they act. They're looking away all the time. You know, they've just they sort of got twitches and they can't really concentrate. That is pure yayo stuff. Check it out anyway, look.
Were you surprised when Canelo said the 150, 200, or?
It doesn't surprise me, bro. He's a pussy. So what do you think of Canelo potentially not fighting you next and then going up against Berlanga?
I don't think nothing about him. You know, he just want to fight me and that's it.
And are you able, and if he does offer you the fight, let's say that the offer for the 150 does come through, right? Are you going to be able to make the 168 limit capable?
Yeah, sure. We're ready to make the weight and that's what it is.
Let's talk about Gvozdyk. You sparred him?
Yeah, I bet he had a good night then. Huh? And it's not just the yayo as well. Yeah, there's been a lot of accusations getting his drag on. He even had to give out on social media, give out some excuse. I'm really sorry. I'm embarrassed myself because I got drunk. He's allowed to have his drink when he's not, training for a fight. But he obviously knows he obviously knows he drinks too much, right? It's not a one-off, right? So watch these two videos. One of him drank and one of him slurring his butt off.
What are you seeing?
They're doing what you gotta do. He's using his job and keeping a distance. It's looking great right now.
What more do you want to see from him in the second half of the fight?
I want to see him use his distance more and his power. He's looking like using his power, so I'm really happy with what he's using right now.
What do you do against a guy that's got a long jab but is sticking it in your face all night?
You gotta keep doing that all night and look for the right hand.
Thanks, David.
And naturally, there's been some beef. Apparently they've been slating each other. In the I don't. In the press, I'm not going to go into this really because, every fight there seems to be some beef. There's very few fights when people are actually respectful these days. There's fighters that are always going to be respectful, like Bivol, Beterbiev, Usyk, people like that, but. In this day and age when there's so much social media and there's so many videos around and people love to have a bit of beef to get the fight better. So I don't know what's going on. Benavidez and they had a bit of a push and a shove, a push and a pull, as the Cobra Carl Fudge would say. And then there's been some beef. Benavidez has been crying about some handshake issue. Come on, blood. Oh, he refused to shake my hands. But then when I next saw him, he wanted to shake my hands. And shake my hands. What is he, like 14? Like a 14-year-old girl whinging about handshaking. Come on, Benavidez. Stop crying, you bumbucklad. So, what's going to happen? Well, the bookies have got Benavidez as a favorite, right? Not a huge favorite. You can get 2.7 on David Morrell if you fancy him, or 7.5 on KO, which is interesting. I'm looking at that. Looking at those prices. The value definitely on Morrell because let's look at what's Benavidez got. Benavidez will be the favourite, and it's not a huge price difference, but Benavidez is expected to win according to the bookies, right? Let's have a look here. So what do you got here? So 1.53 on Benavidez. So that's like 2-1 on if you were whack enough to use fractional odds. So you know what? I'm leaning towards Morrell. And Benavidez, by the way, has been knocked down. Check this one out. To my knowledge, Morrell hasn't gone down. I don't know. I mean, he's only had 11 pro fights, which he's absolutely dominated. So, you know, both of them have pretty much won their fights pretty easily. But Morrell's has done it, I'd say, in more style. But he has not faced the same level of competition as Benavidez. Benavidez has faced some genuine world-class fighters. Just a few, but that's a few more than Morrell. But just watching a few clips of them, you know, it's like when I watched J.L. Petaev's before Maris Bradis, I'd watch some clips of Opetaev when I was doing a preview, and I was like, whoa, this guy, people don't know what's coming. And I really rate Bradis, as I've said many times. You know, people go, oh, you're such a licker of J.L. Petaev. I've got every right, because I spotted him before everyone else did, and I predicted his win. So I'm getting those vibes off David Morrell. I'm getting power, yeah. I'm getting concentration. I'm getting good defense. I'm getting good footwork, yeah. And don't forget, he's an experienced Cuban amateur, okay. And like I said, I think Benavidez is overrated by the US press. You know, again, because they want that Latino superstar, right? You know, because everyone has seen what Canelo has done and people like that. And it's the same thing with Gilberto Ramirez, who I was talking about yesterday and predicting a preview of a fight against J.L. Petaev if it happens. It's the same thing. They push Ramirez as some Zurdo Ramirez as some potential pound-for-pound superstar, which I don't think he is. I think Opetaev will batter him. This fight, I don't necessarily think... I'm less confident in this one, put it that way. But, you know, I think Benavidez is quite easy to hit. I don't think he punches as hard as his record says, you know. Yes, he's quite fast, but when he throws his punches fast, there's not much behind them. You know, there's sort of a bit pitter-pattery. So I think his power is overrated. You know, he also doesn't live the life out of the ring, and that does not help. Getting your drink on, getting your yayo on a lot, and getting fat between fights, especially getting fat between fights. Because what that means is, like Ricky Hatton, you've got to spend a training camp losing weight when you should be concentrating on strategy. Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course, you got to get fit. That's fine. But you should tick along. You get guys like Bernard Hopkins and Holyfield. You know, they're always in the gym and always fit, right? And then, you know, you'll get fighters like whose careers start to unwind when they spend too much time partying, you know, like Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., you know. You know, he was a consummate professional, and then he sort of discovered the love of yayo. You know, Americans like to have a drink and stuff, but, you know, he never got fat, Chavez, but once you just take your foot off the pedal and you know, you avoid the gym a bit, it takes a lot out of you. And it happens to a lot of people once they reach the world class. You know, like Marvin Hagler said, you know, it's quite hard to get out and run at, you know, 5 a.m. in the morning when you get up out of bed in silk pajamas. So, I'm going for David Morrell. I think he will surprise people. The question is, how will he win? It's hard to tell. I mean, like I said, Benavidez has been dropped, and Morrell can punch. But Morrell, like I said, hasn't actually fought any world-class fighters as a pro. But he's dealt with everyone he's fought. And he can certainly punch. And Benavidez does get hit, right? You could get 7.5 on a David Morrell KO. I'm definitely going to put a small bet on Morrell. And I'll probably just put another smaller bet on Morrell by KO. I'm not like super confident in that bet, in the KO bet. But the value is definitely on Morrell. And I think he's going to show his class. Yeah. He's going to hit Benavidez a lot with hard shots. You know, and I would not be surprised by a late round stoppage, like around 10 by David Morrell. So that's my prediction. I don't see it as a heavy betting fight. You know, if they had Morrell at 4-1, I'd be like, dump money on him. But he's only 2.7, which is, for those that use fractional odds, it's less than 3-1. You know, it's like just above 5-2 if you want to use those rubbish odds. So yeah, that's my preview. David Morrell by late round stoppage, all points. But I don't like to hedge because that's hedging. So I'm going to go that he batters the chubster, the former 250-pound 13-year-old. Batters him. No, I mean, look, Benavidez is a good fighter. It won't be a one-sided necessarily. I'm not suggesting it'll be one-sided necessarily, but I think Benavidez will be quite easy to hit. David Morrell is very clever, very experienced, and I think he has more power, and he won't find Benavidez that difficult to hit. I'm hoping we get a classic, and I'm hoping that David Morrell wins by KO, and I'm thinking rounds 10 or 11. Peace in the Middle East and enjoy the fight. I hope you don't have to pay $19.99 for that fight, because I ain't believe that.